Hi, I'm Jason Sterling. I'm a member of the EA Creator Network, and we are going to jump right in here. We are moving right along. This is part 4, you guys, and we have finally moved to a brighter lot, so we can actually see what we're doing. Moved to a brighter lot, and now we're going to tackle some exterior work here on our crystal bridge, right? So we wanted to have a round opening. We wanted to appear to have a round opening anyway. And it does. It kind of has a round opening already, but we're going to make it a little more evident. We're going to dress it up a little bit. We're going to do the same technique that we've done earlier in these videos, using the archways from Realm of Magic. Take 2 of them, flip them upside down through Tool Mod, and then rearrange, re-elevate them, so that they match up and create a circle. I've already gone through this in the earlier videos, but I'm going to show a little bit here of how it works. It was pretty quick to do because I've done it so much by this point for this build that it didn't require a lot of effort. I love the way it looks at the end. I really, really do like that. I do think it makes it look truly like it is a complete cylinder. I decided to dress up the stairs here just a little bit. Just having sort of bent staircase, I just wanted something a little grander, something that looked a little more ceremonial. So I decided to layer the staircases, but also have them drop down. You know, one space, one sort of level for each staircase, right? It worked out pretty well. It did leave an opening there at the bottom. And I definitely was kind of puzzling what to do with it. Like, what am I going to do with this opening? It looks weird just to have this open opening. I ended up putting the tree thing there. What do you call it? Like the Jolly Green Giant hot form, right? The hot form of the Jolly Green Giant. And you click on the tree thing and he pops out. And I kind of covered this in a gameplay video, but I don't know, he doesn't do much. But that looks really attractive there. It does look like it fits, right? It does look really attractive. So that's what we went with. Then I jump in and I do some more detail work for the structures that I'm working with. I'm still trying to arrive at really a final form for the habitat area of this particular build. The fairies here have to live someplace. They need a bed. They need a bathroom, right? They need someplace. Well, fairies don't need any place to cook food, but I always build, well, not always, but typically I build for families. So of course I need a place to cook food, and I don't think fairies don't even have to bathe, really, or maybe even go to the bathroom. I guess they go to the bathroom in a bush, right? The bathroom bush. But I do need a kind of a regular bathroom even still. You can see here I started kind of working on some sort of little pavilions. I'm not real sure where I'm going with them. They're not useful for much except for decor, right? I just want to have these sort of structures there that will look intricately carved and kind of, fantastical, kind of like a little fairy pavilion. I don't know. They're very small. I do end up using them. Now, not here and not in this way. I do use them on this build, but not in this location and not exactly in this way. I do add a lot more to them, but this is where I'm kind of playing around with the sort of techniques and themes that I used in previous builds for this area, for Enchanted by Nature, for Everdo. And that is layering the archways, layering the sort of spandrels, right, to create a more heavily carved effect. And I think it turned out really well, which is why I kept it. I also started to go through and add some of the friezes to the outside of these buildings. I love to use the large friezes on a short wall. It gives such a heavy impact of a real exuberant sort of design, right? Like someone really wanted to layer on some design and some visual architectural interest. And I really think of fairies in the game and in life as being kind of long-lived, right? So they have a long time to look at something and decide, I want to change it. I want to add something to that. I want to change it around a little bit. I want to make it a little bit different. So they're constantly sort of adding things to their buildings and to their space, and it makes them more and more and more sort of grand and exceptional in their appearance. It's kind of like sometimes if you go to someone's home and they're older, like say a senior citizen, and they have these sort of layers of the different eras that have passed through their lives, and you'll see these different holdovers from each of those eras. Sometimes you can look at a house and you can just tag, you know, the different decades as you go through the house, or as you look at the exterior of the house or the exterior of a building, and you can feel like this has grown and evolved over time. And that's kind of what I'm going here for with fairies. They grew, they evolved over time, their living space. Testing out some light fixtures here for the exterior. We're going to need lighting on the inside and the outside, but I do want the outside to have quite a bit of lighting, but at the same time, it shouldn't look like a modern skyscraper, right? We need it to have a little bit of an ethereal sort of feel to it. I tried several different items to accomplish that, and I don't know, I wasn't super in love with them, and spoiler alert, that particular building that I was working on, it ends up getting bulldozed anyway. Now I do hang the pendant lights from Batu in these pavilions. So from that standpoint, I do end up using that particular light in some fashion. And I do think these lights, no matter what you think about Batu, I think the build buy stuff is fantastic. I've said that numerous times in numerous videos. I'm going to keep saying it until it's the #1 selling pack, right? But no, they are. And I think the light fixtures really work well. They have such a fantasy feel to them. You know, again, and it fits here with they look heavily pierced, and like a lot of metal work went into it. And so it fits this society that is heavily into making things with their hands over a long period of time, and really developing an object to exhibit not just functionality, but something to really kind of grip your eye, grip your soul, grip your thoughts. Makes you really want to look at it for a while and explore it and think about it. And you can see here, I was thinking about different tables that I could put into these pavilions. My first thought was, let's use them maybe a little bit like a museum. So I'll set tables within them, and then we can put maybe objects of note or objects that are going to fit into the fairy lore as I sort of express it in my game, things that are important to this particular community of fairies, right? Maybe something that ties into why they settled here, or ties into why they built the botanical garden, something like that. So that's really where I'm headed. And again, I'm just trying to find something here that fits with the style of these pavilions. And I don't know. It looks okay. It looks okay. And I think in some applications it would work really well. See how it turns out as we move on through these episodes. What I do pursue though, and it's partially done here, is a staircase. It looks like a really old, really ancient staircase made out of stones, of course, right? Coming down in a curved fashion from one level of this community down towards where we're going to put our pond, right? There's going to be a pond or a lake. We can call it a lake, kind of a small lake, underneath the Crystal Bridge. And there'll be some fish there and some ducks, stuff like that. And so I wanted to have this curving staircase that's going to come down the hill, and that a sim can use to get from the top down to the bottom, down to that little lake. Now, it's a bit of a tedious process. I do have to make a room underneath, and then we'll put each of these steps actually in that room, and then elevate them using, you can use either the tool mod or you can use the in-game tool to elevate objects up until they just break the ground, because we don't want to see the whole stone, right? We want to just see a little bit like this, like it's an old step. They cannot be on the ground, right? They cannot be on the level of the sim. They've got to be in the basement, because then the game will interpret the object as not actually being where we see it. The game thinks these stones are in the basement. So a sim can go over them or through, along them without any routing issues, because technically they don't exist on that level. Now you can see here, this is not a quick process. This took a long time. It took such a long time, but I really, really wanted it. I really wanted this idea. I wanted to see a sim, especially the ferries. I wanted to see him fly and kind of sweep down this sweeping staircase to this pond. And we're going to eventually have stuff up on that level that he starts at, the upper level there, the kind of mid-level. There's going to be a particular area there for ferries to access and hang out. So it really ties into that. Also, if you're coming to visit this area, since we have the ferry port, right? We have the ferry port way up high there. You could come down and then, come to this area from when you come to visit, right? You're going to sweep down this sweeping staircase. And because it's ancient, it implies either the ferries have been here for a really long time, or maybe they settled here because there was another ancient culture that was even older that had been here before, and it grabbed their attention, right? It kind of grabbed their attention. And I've touched on this in some of the other builds. So there's a really large build, 64 by 64, in Inniscreen proper, in one of the other neighborhoods, where I also include the ruins of a much older civilization than the ferries. And again, the idea was they settled there because it's got some sort of magical property, and it's been like that for a long time. And whoever was originally there, whoever originally existed, they've long since gone, right? They've long since gone extinct or moved on, that particular culture. And so they're the most recent inhabitants of this area. And you can see there, he does go up and down our staircase, right? Flies up and down it. You can walk up and down it as well. It is not graphically as perfect, that's for sure. It is not graphically as perfect as a ferry flying down it. But it does work. It does work for that. So if you want a ferry to walk, a sim to walk up and down the stones, they'll do it as well without any trouble. Go in here and kind of put in some landscaping to frame the space in. So I want to more fully illustrate that it is a curved area, and this staircase is following a particular path, a particular angle due to the topography of the area. So maybe wasn't arbitrary. That's the way they followed the topography to get from one point to another. Now we can see it here from overhead. I do like this overhead view. Gives us even again a really good view of that curve, that sort of curve coming from one level down to the other. Really love the way that looks. We're going to do a little bit of work here before this is all done on these structures yet again, right? You're thinking, I thought they were done, Jason. You already worked on this like the last couple of videos. You've already kind of been working on this. I know, they're not done. I'm not happy with it. I feel like it's too angular in the end. Spoiler alert, I feel like it's too angular. You can see I go ahead and delete part of it. The first couple of levels, I figure, I've got this round cylinder for this botanical bridge, right? And I feel like some of that softness, some of that roundness needs to be reflected in other dwellings, right? Other dwellings that they're living in. So I decided to go in, as you can see, create a circular room. And I'm going to go through and put in kind of a circular roof line as well. That's where you'll really see the circular part of it expressed, is in the roof line. This is where they're going to live. This is their house. Okay, what I'm doing now does stick. This is where they're going to live. This is going to be their house. Not exactly in the format you see there, because that large square room I do end up kind of changing. I think we'll hit that coming up in a future video. But I delete some more of the levels there. In fact, all of them except for all of them. Now they all go. And then we're going to come in, put in some of our roofing to kind of, I want that sort of pagoda look right? That sort of, they do it in China a little bit too. I want that sort of stacked look with stacked roof lines. You can see I spent a lot of time on roofing. I've already talked about this, how you can hit shift in the letter C, and it will open up a new set of tools for roofs to see all those dots in there. You know, all the different dots. If you hit shift C, they all appear. So you have more manipulation control over the roof. I do that a lot with roofing of this sort, you know, for fantasies, right? For fantasy style. I've made a gnome village and I haven't gone back and finished it yet. I do need to finish it. It's part of the builds I started early on for this particular pack, and then I dropped it, right? I didn't finish it. I always get distracted. In fact, I started a series, you know, of going back and just finishing builds for a while we were waiting for something to happen. And then I naturally switched into this pack. Okay, and then we stop, right? We stop. We're at the end of this video. This is where we stand now. This is what it looks like. It's coming along pretty well. Pretty happy with it. There are several more videos to go, of course. There's a lot left to do. There's a lot left to do, but I am happy with the way it looks. Please hit like, subscribe, and notify so you can see everything else that's coming, everything else I have to do, how I do it, why I do it, on this start to finish series. I think by this point, this build should be up on the gallery. My intention was to put it up on the gallery either Friday or Saturday, which would be part 2 or part 3. So beginning with that point, it should be on the gallery to download. My gallery ID is Jason Sterling, RMC, or there'll be a link. There's a link in the description, so you can go there directly to either this particular build or to my full gallery. Because my full gallery is also linked in the description as well as all my socials. So please hit like, subscribe, and notify. Again, please do that. And until next time, thanks for watching.